All right, for more on this rocky start to 2016, I'm joined by Michael Czinkota. He's a professor at Georgetown University's McDonough School of Business. Michael, thanks for joining us. Good to see you.
A pleasure to be here.
All right, well, it's an interesting day today. Certainly those escalating tensions between Saudi Arabia and Iran grabbing headlines, and that's now spilling over into the region. Bahrain announcing that it's severing diplomatic ties with Iran, and the United Arab Emirates also saying that it's downgrading its diplomatic relations with Iran. Michael, what is your outlook here? How heated can this get?
Well, this is certainly of concern because we have the two biggest players combating each other since a long time, again, directly. It used to be adversity by distance or by having someone else who's filling in, but now they're really making direct steps and moves, and that can be scary because all of this, as we've seen so far, metastasizes very quickly because you have a friend of a friend and you have an enemy of an enemy, and all of a sudden battle lines are drawn very quickly. And that even includes us in the United States. We have, for example, for decades now, a close affiliation with Saudi Arabia, and our relations with Iran are not nearly as good. So when push comes to shove, the issue will probably be that in spite of a desire to stay apart, we in the US will, at least to some extent, get drawn into this.
Yeah, it certainly can have a very big ripple effect. Now, we've already seen this impact oil prices, although other concerns like the global economic slowdown and the US stock market drop, as well as other global markets drop, did see those gains erased. But Michael, what does this mean for oil and specifically for OPEC? Because many are now questioning the cohesive nature of the cartel. Many are saying, hey, it's only a cartel by name, and now with this fray between Iran and Saudi Arabia, well, it's safe to say that it'll be impossible to form a consensus. What do you think?
Well, in terms of purposes of cartels, in essence, the idea is a cartel provides additional benefits to its members. And these benefits can be higher prices or more power. At this time, I do not think that OPEC has a particular value in terms of either price addition or production changes. Now, that is, of course, temporary, and we'll have to think long-term what happens over the next 3 to 5 years. But let's look at oil. In essence, the oil market is getting it from all sides. You have new production methods, you have new producers, you have commitments to lower consumption, and you take all this together, and all of a sudden there's a substantial demand overhang. And keep in mind, this is like when you go into a supermarket and you're at the cashier. If you're a penny short, that is a most horrible thing to happen. If you're a penny over, no problem at all. And cartels can intervene here when it comes to the margin. But at the moment, this is not a marginal issue. These are major shifts taking place.
And big concern for the cartel that it no longer has one voice. So what do you think this means for oil prices?
I would suspect that over the shorter term, oil prices will go down. And in spite of some efforts by some of the players to raise them again, there are too many other pressures like, for example, Iran, which definitely wants to increase its oil exports, which have been hindered for so long by the embargo.
Right.
And they need the money, the income, in order to beef up their economy.
Michael, let's take it to a broader level. What are the bigger implications here besides oil? How much of a geopolitical, economic threat is all of this? Also factoring in what's happening with Syria and the spillover effect that that's had with Europe.
Well, there are a ton of issues literally coming down. With Iran, of course, there's the entire issue of nuclear proliferation or non-proliferation, which has just now seen its first step in terms of alleged solutions, but the benefits which Iran expected to receive from that under current conditions are less than likely to happen. At the same time, you have other areas in the Middle East, and you mentioned Syria quite appropriately, because Syria is, of course, also being bombarded and destroyed literally from many sides. And that, of course, then results in faraway issues like migration. I just came back from Germany to observe how more than 1 million migrants are coming in 1 year and probably will come in this coming year. How can they accommodate those even though they try? And that then within the European Union itself creates a lot of difficulties. Just imagine, a few months ago, everybody beat up on the Hungarians because they decided to scrutinize who came over the border and reduce the inflow. Everybody said, that's just not right, that's inhuman. But in the meantime, you have pretty much everyone else in the area, Germany, Austria, Slovenia, Serbia, who built borders anew and who refuse to accommodate. And that, of course, will, within the EU, create major problems as well.
We're already seeing some issues there with Sweden and Denmark. Michael, very quickly, a lot to choose from, but look into your crystal ball and tell me, what would you say is the single biggest concern for the global economy in 2016?
Predictability, the return of predictability. We are not going to see eye to eye with our partners, allies, and sometimes adversaries, but as long as we're more predictable and they are more predictable for us, that will make a huge difference. And the second thing, of course, is the rebuilding of trust. Trust is the key currency in terms of international progress, and that has been somewhat reduced. We need to rebuild that too.
All right, rebuild trust in 2016. Thanks so much, Michael Czinkota, professor at Georgetown University's McDonough School of Business.